You doing? Friday night live, and here we are. And I have my very special guest, Anja and Touch, right? How's
Teich,
last?
yeah.
Yeah,
Teich, but it doesn't matter. It's just my last name.
yes. Well, yeah, like my Steiger. It's like okay. So we're just two Germans just talking back and forth here. So.
Right.
Well, I just want to say hello to all the moderators and how are you doing? And so that just got me tickled on that. So, Anja, good to have you on. And I am excited about this because the subject that we're dealing with here is, well, it's been so misaligned over the centuries, and actually, I think we can say the last two millennia.
Yeah,
And
forever, actually, yeah.
yeah, and for modern man, 2,000 years is basically what we would call the postmodern period. So we have been in that. And through the centuries, witchcraft has now have the connotation of being evil, bad, of the devil, and we all know. In fact, we're coming into the month of October, where witches are again stereotyped into such an imagery that it impacts generation after generation.
Yes, it's the season of the witch. That's how I call it.
Well, by the way, that is one great song.
It is.
It
I love
is. It is. And if you haven't ever heard it, Donovan was a very cool dude ahead of his time. Anyway, we digress. So, the season of the witch, isn't that so apropos?
it. It is. Well, first of all, I want to say hello and thank you for having me on, Wayne. Yeah, and as you said, the word witchcraft still leaves like a totally bitter taste in people's mouth, right? Which
Yeah.
I take back to the programming of the institution. And like it's nothing supernatural what we do. And I'm not hopping on my Nimbus 2000 and zooming off like first of all the air's too thin, second thing the cord too short, it's like
So you're not going to do the bewitched thing, and do the nose thing,
no.
Yeah, exactly, because that's what I grew up with. We had Bewitch, and it's like, well, or we had the opposite of that, which would, I guess, be I Dream of Jeannie.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So
I remember that too.
see.
So actually what witchcraft is for me especially, like, I mean, there's so different kinds. Like everything goes under witchcraft, in my opinion. Herbalists, if you do work with healing herbs, especially in these days, people work with crystals, people do energy work, healing work. There's so many different ways what would have back then fall under witchcraft, and they would have burned you. Even doing tarot card readings.
Yeah.
And this is all part of it. So it's just a name for it. Of course, me personally, I do spells and rituals as well. Then again, it's also, oh, you're doing spells, ooh, right? You're doing dark magic. No, I don't, right?
What's so funny about that, Anja, is that people don't realize every day of their life they are casting spells. It's just the way it works.
A simple prayer is a spell,
isn't it?
You put your intention in it, in your words. I mean, the word spelling, a spell comes from spelling, right? Yeah. So that's why words are so powerful if you say them with intention or if you write them down.
Well, part of the Hermetic principles was that the Egyptians knew how to speak the word in casting the spell. And today in modern religion, if you're in Christianity, when you go into a service, you do the invocation. I mean,
Yep, they do every Sunday.
every time I'm going, well, so what's the difference here? And in fact, as you and I were talking before we went live, they take it a step further. They actually do blood sacrificing or the imitation of such.
They're eating the flesh. They're drinking the
Yeah.
blood.
I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, if you're going to look at the equation, you have to be honest about it. And yeah, I'm going, so what's the difference here? So you talk about casting spells. Curious on that. Is that in the part of healing? Is it to bring fortune? Is it to, what would you typically look at in when you cast spells for yourself or whomever?
It always depends on the attention, or like for me, for example, in personal,
Mm-hmm.
depending if I do a healing and I see something negative attached that doesn't belong there, then I use spells as well, right? But I write my own spells, and that's what I would recommend for everybody, to put your own words, your own energy, and don't Google up a spell. It's just not it's different. Like, that's what I recommend. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that's my personal opinion, because as soon as you write down a spell, I mean, just sit down and, let it flow a bit, and then write down your intention, what you want to do with the spell. Which is, again, nothing else than manifesting, right? That's pretty much the same, except that you write it down. But of course, there are rules: to harm no one and not to control anyone. That's why I always get a little weary when people, oh, I'm going to manifest that guy over there. Because same times, three other women, oh, I want him too. And then we have the toilet, right? Like,
Yeah, there is that,
and also then there comes in, of course, black and white. And again, all the black is negative. It's not.
Yeah.
Like, let's take the love spell, for example. Just an example. Most of people say, oh, it's a love spell, it's good. No, it's not. Because the moment you take a person's will away, it's not good anymore.
Ooh,
and black magic can be good as well if it's not used to harm anyone. You just need the light and the dark, another principle of the balance of the 7 hermetical principles, right? The balance thing.
precisely.
So you cannot only work with that one. You need to bring in the other one. I do it for my personal use. So, and I use it for healings. Mostly what I do, energy work, healing work. I don't use spell all the time. It depends on what I do with that specific person, right?
Interesting. So it's interesting how we just discussed that, because in my journey on this planet, so, I've actually participated in a satanic service. It was in my youth. And, I didn't find anything particularly scary about it. I found a lot of symbolism and a lot of ritual. It looked to me almost like an orchestrated play. And well, that's what I saw. And then when I got into Christianity, the pageantry is the same. It's just the antithesis of what is projected in what would be called more of a satanic type of approach.
Yeah, let's say they do their little blood sacrifices, a chicken or whatever, then it's satanic.
Yeah.
Meantime, in a church, it's good. So for me, it makes no sense.
Well, again,
people don't even realize what they're doing.
No, they don't. And isn't a prayer, let's just talk about this. So when we cast a spell, are you using the 4 elements in the preparation for doing a spell? How do you go about preparing? Because to me, it would seem like having the elements, understanding the elements would be very important.
It is. There is the earth, the air, the fire, the water, and the ether. And that's what the pentagram symbolizes.
Mm-hmm.
and the ether is on top. And when you count it up, the last one is empty, and that shows as above, so below
So
as
below.
above, because it's the ether, the spirit, right?
Yeah.
So it's everywhere. And I pull the elements for protection, or again for healing if I clean chakras, because they connect with elements, depending on what kind of magic I do or spells, then I pull the elements.
Yeah, and so as you're talking, Anja, what I keep on hearing inside of me is the fact what the world, and I would say the Western world particularly, when they look at particularly the seven hermetic principles, that it's defined occultism. Yet, when you look at these principles, it's the foundation, though, of what we call a psychic psychology, which is called witchcraft.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us, right?
Yeah.
It shows everything. For example, the balance, what I always think is so very important, the yin and the yang, the vibration and the frequencies. This is all what we are, and this is all what we can use. And that's what witchcraft manifestation is about, to work with the energies. We are energies around us. Everything is energy, and we just work with it.
It's odd because I alluded to this today in the reading that I'm doing with the seven principles, and so coming out of Christianity, I look at this and I shake my head and I'm going, this stuff was everywhere. So when we talk about seeing into the spirit realm, well, I've heard you mention in cleaning energies. To me, I interpret that to a person having the ability to see into a higher frequency, which we would call the spirit realm. How would you define that?
Yeah, that's what I do. Actually, when I do healings, I connect. I don't astral project. I don't
No, you don't
personally
need to.
believe good. It's not, but that's just my opinion. Just leave it there. But I connect. I go like not in a. I go in a kind of a trance. I pull a protection circle around me. Depending on what it is, I call upon Odin. He's my spirit guide, or Thor, which Thor symbolizes again for me air and light, thunder, right?
Yeah. Odin's a
And
cool dude. I mean,
yeah, he is.
I mean,
So he's like
I've had other people who, and listen, I believe that the individual exists, and they say that he's a very cool dude. So anyway, I interrupted there.
no, that's okay. So I don't know how that ever happened. That must have been something that I always had inside of me. So I connect with the energy of the people. And I had two people that even saw me there, and they actually described where I was standing or my energy, not me. I'm not
Yes.
beaming over there, but they could actually notice the shade that was creepy. But anyway, and then I just scan them, like, let's say if they have an old wound out of the past being hurt, I can see that in dark spots. And at one point I get in form of a symbol for me. Like, let's say you've been hurt in the heart. I see darts. Someone is trying to stab your back. I see that, right? Just a symbol for me, so I can work with it and I can remove it. Or chakras, if they're blocked, I can see that.
It's just interesting because I don't think a lot of people think about it, that as we have emotional wounds, those emotional wounds attach to our spirits, our souls.
Yeah, they are. They're literally stuck in us. And that's when we also get the physical pains, right?
Yeah. So taking this back into where I come out of, we call that the gift of seeing into the spirit realm. And it's odd because how I came out of the faith movement is that we would invoke speaking in tongues. And so you would get into a trance speaking in tongues. And then this would connect you to the Holy Spirit, the spirit realm.
Yeah.
We're talking the same type of parallels here.
It is.
Yeah.
Just the one is called evil and the other
Yeah,
not,
the
right?
other one, and by the way, that's because someone termed it that way.
And
Now,
many people died for that. Many people,
oh,
over 250 years.
Let me tell you, if people realize just how high the body count is for the knowledge that, number one, you practice, and the one that I speak of, we would be put to the stake, all right, sister. I mean, we'd be going,
Yeah, we'll be going.
Andre's so,
but since I'm fire and I work with a dragon, I would probably say, bring it on.
Yeah, come on.
Is that all? Come on, not really.
I always remember the Ghostbusters, when they were dealing with the dude in the painting. They said, death is but a portal. and so this is what I got. Death is but a portal. Bring it on, brother. So we digress. So you started having this gift at a very early age in life, right?
Yeah, like I grew up in a Catholic family. I went up, well, they weren't too bad, but still I had to go to Catholic school, which was really a pain. And nothing of it spoke to me, like nothing. I was always different. I was always a black sheep, even in a family. I never knew why. I always tried to fit in, but I never did. And my first book was the Bermuda Triangle and about aliens. And I was like 12 or so. And everybody was like, you don't understand that.
Because were the sisters your teachers, the nuns?
No, we didn't have nuns, but we had very strict Catholic teachers, like very strict. And we had to pray before class. We had to pray after class. Once a week, we had to go to church. I got kicked out on a regular basis.
So you were a rebel.
Because I had to laugh all the time.
Laughter doeth the heart is a good medicine.
Yeah.
It's true. So you were really then kind of the, as you said, the black sheep. Isn't it interesting how we use that term? How if you go back and you step back and you look how that term came about, it really is about the sacrificial goat.
Yeah, true. Well, the same with, what is it, knock on wood, that we all use. That comes actually from ancient witchcraft too, to call awaken the spirit of a tree to keep evil away or negative away from you.
How about that?
For example, the black cat crossing your path, it's not said, oh, it's bad, or if it walks from left or right, it doesn't matter. All it says, it's a messenger that something will change.
Interesting, but
stuff like that, right?
Yeah. So as you're talking, and I'm thinking to myself, well, why wouldn't that? I mean, man is in a kingdom, and we interact with the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. What we described as magical is really just laws. And it would seem to me, as a witch, you are a master at understanding the laws.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that I'm ready or understand everything. I'm still learning myself every day.
Well, sure.
But what I learned was just like when I was about 20, it kind of hit me. I got to do something, right? And I started seeing spirits, like I wrote you.
Yeah.
First, of course, I thought, I'm like, okay, I really need to see someone, like. But because
let's talk about that a minute. How did that first hit you? What was the first experience that when you saw into the spirit realm?
The first experience was actually a candle holder that I got from the antique store.
Oh.
Like I got this candle holder and I was sitting on my couch and all of a sudden I was getting cold and I'm like, okay, crank up the heat in the summer. Yeah, wonderful. And And then I started seeing pictures. I can't even explain how I see it. It's like a hologram. Like I see it, but it's not like a thought. I can explain it when you think about something, visualize the picture.
Yep.
This is how I see it. And I saw this man whacking another man with that candle holder. And I'm like, okay, I got to cut those late movies out and pizza at night. I'm like, okay. And I totally blocked it out. I thought just like, I don't know. But it came back and back. And then a few weeks later, I was lying in my bed, again, cold. I mean, luckily by now I don't get cold anymore. And I heard a crash in the hallway, but there was nothing that could have fallen. But I went and checked. And I'm like, okay. Then I checked on my daughter if she maybe fell out of bed. Nothing. It sounded like a mirror crashing, but I had no mirror in the hallway. I'm like, okay. And then I was back to bed, and all of a sudden I see this man in front of me in a suit. I'm like, okay, I'm really out of here now. Like, okay, I'm like, with my blankie till here. I'm like, what? Go away. Like, then I was really aware I saw a spirit. And
can we talk about the candlestick? It's very interesting. Yeah. So I'm looking at this from a philosopher's point of view, and also looking at from a point of view of a transfer of energy. I find it remarkable because to me, I interpret this, Anja, is that you are a receiver, a receptor. And that energy was encased within that metal, which is very interesting that we speak about metal and the ability of metal to absorb that type of energy.
Yeah, that's what spirits are, energy, right? Remaining energy.
That's all they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why they get attached to certain things.
And so I'm looking at this, that is very strong. To me, that's like we're plugged into a loop of the space-time continuum. This is very interesting. I mean, so yeah. Now, have any of the spirits talked to you?
Yes, not them. Mm-hmm. Of course, that was my very beginning. And later on, after that guy at my bed who ended up being a friend that was in a car accident that night, which I found out a few days later, that was the crash I heard. After that, I swear it was like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost. I had them lining up in my house. It was like literally, I mean, not as bad, but like, it was like,
the vacancy sign went outside your house.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, pull a number, everyone, one number, please.
I love this.
And I didn't really know what to do. I had no one who ever talked to me about it or showed me anything. I just did it out of my gut feeling, right? I talked to them and I told them, you have to move on. You're not here anymore. And
so let's stop. Can we talk about that for a second? Because we're into a realm that is so much mystified, which to me it shouldn't be. We should have the knowledge, and this should not be something that we put superstition or etc. to. So the souls that you met, what did you find that they were missing? Was it because everyone hears, go to the light, go to the light. What was your encounter that you had with them? Which I'm sure there's still a lot here.
Yeah, there are. It was mostly from what I see is mostly accidents, pulled out of life by like very abrupt or not finishing a job, didn't know what was going on. That's my experience I have. Then they're just confused and don't know what's going on.
Interesting.
It's not even that when I send them away that it's a light that you see on TV. It's not like bright. They just go. It's shiny, but it's not that typical light.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Can I say something to you when you talked about your friend that showed up next to your bed and what you were hearing the most first vivid experience I had of talking to the other side, I was raised by my grandparents and was out in Santa Clara. And I remember my brother and I had bunk beds, and I slept at the top and he was on the bottom. Anyway, it was Christmas. I think it was like the 24th, but
Yeah.
the light came on in our bedroom, and my aunt walked in, and she came in and she kissed me on the forehead, and she said, and I still remember it to this day. She said, "I'll always be looking over you." And my grandmother got up and wanted to know why the light was on. And while she was coming into the room, the phone rang. And it was my aunt up in Sacramento telling my grandparents that her sister had just been killed.
Oy. Wow. I get goosebumps.
So my aunt, who apparently loved me very much, in her transition stopped enough, yeah. So it tells me that there is this point of not this light. I think we got this so, again, spooky that it's a transition, right?
It is. Yeah, like I said, I don't see them going into any shiny light, white, and it's like a portal, something. They just go through. And I also had spirits, sometimes it's also guilt that keeps them here as well, I noticed. Over the course of time, when I got more experience or understood more what was going on, I feel what they're feeling, and sometimes I see even what happened to them and what is stopping them from moving on. And from my experience also, the longer they remain between here and there, they start getting angry, and then they start getting nasty. But I'm not scared, and no one should be. They're not dangerous.
They
just get really, and maybe start throwing stuff around, right? Like, hey, I'm here. Why don't you see me?
Wow. All right. So that which is above is same as that which is below. That which is below is same as above. So let's just think this out. I am enjoying this, Anja. This is phenomenal. So in life, and I'll just share, my personal experience. When I started to becoming fully awake, there was this tremendous conflict inside of me. And I didn't recognize it at the time. Now, my wife, bless that woman, if there was sainthood, she's already got it, because she was enduring this, and because it's a very difficult process for me, it was, in becoming fully awake to this process. So my point is this: we can have bouts of anger and outbursts because of the spiritual turmoil inside. Think about a spirit that's passed on now, where the spirit and soul are in conflict. I could see why there would be angry spirits.
Yeah, because they don't know what's going on, and they can't be here, they can't be there, or they don't remember what happened. And at one point, but like I said, that's just my experience, right? They just get stuck, and then they don't remember, they don't realize nothing anymore. And that's when they start becoming angry, or where people feel haunted places. And so I kind of link with that energy too.
Yeah.
And then again, I see the vision, what happened, and then I communicate with them. But I had to say, I had the odd ones that didn't want to move on. That was just plain, no, I actually like it here, and I'm gonna screw around here. So that's when I mostly call
that
my
makes
spirit.
sense. I mean, I contend that if free will is merely limited by destiny and necessity, that as we cross over into the next plane, the laws are still going to apply. I could see a spirit saying, "No, I ain't ready to move on. That's like you said. I'm gonna, and I could see that. I mean, if they're tormentors here,
yeah,
they would be tormentors there.
I'm out of here. I stay here.
Anja, you just solved a huge problem for me. Now I know where all the jerks go.
That's what they would probably call hell in the Norse mythology, where all the lost souls go that don't know where they belong.
I think I'm getting this. I'm really getting this. So what did they look to you for? Because when I met with Sue G, Sue, she told me, she says, you've got spirits around you. And she said, they're just not a couple. And she told me at first, she said, it's very hard to get, focused in on you because there's this energy. And I'm going, what energy? What? Because I didn't want to know anything about it. So what did they look for you? I'm just curious in how to go, or what to do, I guess is how I'm kind of looking at it.
If they're here for a long time, they just want to know what happened. It's like they're trying to get back a memory, and from there they decide where they go.
Oh, how interesting. Because that fits in right into the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That those who are suddenly jolted out of the body due to a sudden traumatic incident, that they really, and that's exactly what the Tibetan book says. They get into this place, they don't know where they are.
Yeah, and that they really don't know. And like I said, from my experience, the longer they stay, the more, I will not depressed, but angry they get, right? Because they don't remember, they don't know where to go. And but the ones like that I try to connect with, and that usually works, they're ready to go. And the ones that are peaceful but want to stay, I leave alone. But there are also some that are not peaceful that I don't leave alone. And then usually I get help from my spirit guides. Sometimes I don't even have to ask. They're just like rubbing them by the, that's enough now, right? Like, but that's really.
I love that. Well, everything that you have described is right in line with the 7 principles. I mean, to me, the fact that when we pass over, I see it as a transmutation. I see it as a change in vibration. There's obviously going to be other beings already in that realm, dimension. And the veil between this one and that one, I think, Anja, is very thin.
It is, especially on the coming time now, the season of the witch, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'm wondering that's just a thought of mine, nothing that I read anywhere. Or sometimes I'm thinking if this big event or transformation or whatever you will call it is just that this veil will break that keeps us apart. Does it make any sense?
Well, there's a lot of speculation. I've read a lot on that if the veil is, let's say, becoming more translucent and becoming basically thinner, that I call it a portal, is what I would interpret that as. And I think there's a lot of speculation. I mean, and this is totally off subject, but what I don't understand about reincarnation and the recycle event is that what's going on with all the souls that are in flooding our world today? I mean, this is something that I can't find anything ever written about. So what's happening? I'm asking myself, and just maybe get your opinion on this, because obviously you have knowledge to share. Are the portals from multiple dimensions just being flooded open right now? Because this is crazy. It's like, where are all of these souls coming from?
I think we're having another source messing around. If I may bring that up.
Excellent. Yes, let's talk about that.
I mean, I can't confirm that, but we know behind our institution, that's what I always say. I think they're up to much more than we know. And the matrix we live in, the calendar, our jobs, and everything else, the whole system is made by magic. It's rituals that we do every day. We talked about this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have time. We have the fake calendar that keeps us away from being in tune with the nature, with the moon, with the nature, right? That's what the ancient people did, and that's why they wiped them out, because they were in tune with energies. And so I'm thinking there are people that doing the negative aspect of the black magic.
Yes. Very interesting, because one of the viewers on one of the programs a couple of weeks ago said, well, could it be that they're using the internet to invoke spells? And I said, the internet's just a medium. Would make sense, wouldn't it?
Well, we are connecting, right?
Yeah, I think we are.
As soon as we connect, talk, it's energy flowing. It doesn't matter if there's a screen between or not. Like, it doesn't really matter. But I think those people, they have other knowledge that we don't have. I mean, we know they destroyed artifacts, they're hiding stuff, and they have probably books there that I would dream of to take a look in there, or maybe not. But
well,
underestimate it.
I took there is a and I'll have to find it. There is a website where you can actually go, and they have over 219. Some of them are very rare, and some of them are a bunch of crap, but some of them are very interesting on magic and the casting of spells, invoking of spirits. Speaking about invoking of spirits, so you talked about your spirit guides. Now, it's amazing when you become aware that they use the terminology as you coming out of Catholicism, myself out of Protestantism, that we have a guardian angel. That really is taken from the fact that there are spirit guides assigned to every soul apparently coming in. Is that how you interpret that?
Yeah, and I think it depends on your own energy, what you maybe attract. I didn't look out for Odin. I wasn't looking for Odin. I was looking for something, but I didn't know what. I started looking into druids. Well, I was like, nah, close, but no cigar, and all this. And I started with herbs, with incense, and all of a sudden, Odin showed up. That was at a time where I was able to see spirits, like 10 years ago.
So this is interesting. So this is a progression, which is the way it should be. All life should be progressing upward and onward. So you started with herbs, right?
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that. So using and invoking plants, how did you get interested in that, and how does that begin to develop?
That started with when I was really looking, and I need to do something more. There is more out, right? And then I thought, okay, you can help the dead. There must be a way to help the living one as well, to do something with that. That would be helpful. Would be kind of nice.
Common sense. That's all I got to say. Common sense. I love it. I mean, damn it, the person's dead. Let's talk about the living.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, let's do something fun now for a change.
All right. So we keep on going.
So, then because I always like plants and herbs, and then I was like, okay, you got to be able to do more with them than just cooking. And that's when I started looking up, and also with incense, I always loved incense sticks. And then I was like, maybe there's more to it. And I looked up into resins, and that you can burn some herbs. I learned the hard way that you can use them for rituals to call upon spirits or energies, which I found out on my first case when I ordered like all kinds of resins and herbs. And I was like, well, let's take a bit of this and a bit of that. And then at the end, I had almost a whole box in there. And then I knew, sorry.
No, no, no. So the resins, I love this conversation because the downloads are coming quick. I never considered this, Anja, that resins are the essence of the trees from which they came from.
Yes, there are.
I'm getting it. I mean, that's powerful, sister. That is
It is
powerful.
very powerful. That's why I had to do my diligent research when I use what, because like I said, I threw everything in one pot because it smells so nice, and then all hell broke loose in my living room.
Oh, my Lord.
So I learned the hard way. Like I talked to friends, of course, that had knowledge, and I learned the hard way with everything. And even with healing, I didn't release in the beginning until I went bananas, but I never belonged to a coven or anything. So that was
Yeah.
just really learning by doing.
So, do we get a different combination of energy, which I'm answering my own question. I could see that, but I'm asking you. So I could see using the essence of a tree from resin. I could
Yeah.
see then beginning to use the herbs, which are primarily the plant or the seed. So that is at the plant that a combination of that would then what invoke different energies to be manifested forth.
Well, you can use, like I say, like every tree, every plant has a spirit, right?
Yes.
And helps us through by you can release, you can activate chakras, you can protect yourself, you can cleanse the house in all different ways. There's so many varieties to use herbs and resins to smudge,
Mm-hmm.
like so many, and the ingredients are always different, right? Like every tree has a different purpose, every plant. I mean, you can mix some together, but you have to be careful what you
We have
do.
got to get this knowledge out, Anja. This is knowledge that, listen, we're immersed into this material reality,
Yeah.
and it's just a fact. And you've said a couple of key things is that when we have the plants that then begin to invoke that spirit that plant has been assigned, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but is in a constant state of mutation. That's basically what it's happening here. So to learning the difference of the formulas would be very important for one's life that I think could help them immensely.
Yeah, it helps. I mean, this really helps to like maybe look something up, right? I talk about it too sometimes on my channel, um, about depending on
By
what
the
I
way,
talk.
you need to send me your channel. I did.
Oh, no, no, no. I didn't mean to make commercial. I was just
No,
saying
no,
that.
no.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do marketing here.
Oh, no,
Um,
no, because you just got another student right here. This is wonderful knowledge.
it is, and it depends on, yeah, how much you use. You want to be careful, but with the time, you get a feeling for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much you use. Um, if you do meditation, if you do a mix for meditation, you put in too much of one resin, you will feel it in the energy. It will get just a bit too much. And
Interesting.
depending if I do rituals, depending on what I use, the incense, especially if I go, yeah, bonkers against people that hurt others.
They're out there. Could you help me on maybe for my own cognitive thought? Frankincense, myrrh.
Yeah.
Um, it seems that these are pretty, from what we're hearing, that these are pretty powerful. Are they oils or resins?
You can get them as oils too, like all of them. Like my favorite, for example, is benzoe and copal. It's
I've never
very
even.
warm and very strong for meditations or rituals.
Okay.
And there's so many, like I couldn't count them all now, but there's so many resins. And also dragon blood
I
is
love
a resin.
that.
So that's another thing. Like everybody puts dragon blood in their incense. mixes if they're mixes, but dragon blood is to give your incense or your mix a little boost. So if you do magic spells, you don't want to put in too much because right.
So what is dragon blood?
That's a resin too.
It's a resin. I've got to get you on more of it. We can just do a whole class on this. This is just
sure, we can do that.
This is just way cool. And so through these processes, because as you study ancient philosophy, you begin to see that this is part of alchemy. And this is exactly what we're talking about. Now, you can classify it as witchcraft, but it's no different than a forager who is forging iron, metal. No difference at all.
It's alchemy, it's occultism, it's everything in there.
Yeah, it's just a name.
Yeah. And that's the same with crystals, or they have all kind of names, hedge witch, dark witch, I don't know with what names they come up, crystal witch, and I don't know this.
So and obviously I'm a neophyte here on this one. So I'm thinking that as I begin to learn principles, I apply laws, then as I begin to understand the elements and beginning to work within the elements, so now I'm thinking, if I have the plants, the resins, I have that knowledge, could I use that in combination with crystals?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
My crystals here, you can use it all in combination.
See, I love this.
Just want to make sure that you have the right crystal sitting there,
now,
right?
See, that is the $64 million question there. Is like, well, now I'm trying to figure out, all right, so what's the right combination? Because I got a sense that people get involved in this area, Anja, in knowledge, and they become very dangerous because they have a little knowledge, or they get off into tangents and they end up really making a mess.
Yeah, I have that one friend. I mean, I'm not too knowledgeable in crystals. Mine is more herbs and resins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And energy work or spells. And others, they're more firm in crystals, right? I know a few, but I have that one friend. He is like obsessed with crystals, like a crystal hoarder. So I walked in one day in his room and he wanted to show me his new collection. And I walked on in there and I almost thought my hair, I'm like, what the hell, right? Because he has them all together on one shelf. He puts all crystals together. That's like...
Well, that's like having a radio and you've got all the stations blaring at the same time.
Yeah, that was like a crystal atomic station or something. I don't know. I was like, whoa, dude. Put them a bit like...
Honestly, that's a good point. It isn't now, and as you were talking about that, he for himself was hoarding the crystals, and it's very interesting how it is that when we start finding out these things is that, well, I want to get them all, and sometimes we overstep the spiritual boundary is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, if they're all charged correctly, they put them all together. So that's why, like, you can put them in different corners of the house to protect, right? Stuff like that. Like with salt, just use salt.
So now, do you use sigils in preparing spells?
Yeah, sigils too. And sigils, everyone should do themselves too, I find. And it's not hard, really.
Well, let's talk about that, because it's something that I have been studying besides what we're also going through the Hermetic principles. But I never realized, well, actually I have, because, my background is marketing and sales, working with ad agencies, and logos were always the biggest challenge with the companies that I would start, because you had to have the right logo. And no matter what graphic artist that I was working with or designer, it's amazing that these designers had this inert knowledge of sigils. And it never occurred to me. I mean, again, it shows you how you can be totally asleep in the middle of a boiling pot.
Totally.
Totally. See?
I mean, we were around it. Like we have numerology everywhere. We have the sigils everywhere. Sigils, sorry, the immigrant in me. The sigils everywhere. We have it everywhere, and we get bombarded with it without even realizing.
So you are now, this is confirmation, because I go by the axiom, in the mouth of two or more witnesses, let everything be established. And so you just said something that was, you didn't even know where this other came from. That each one of us need our own sigils. How does a person go about actually designing a sigil for themselves?
A sigil is, you want to put the intention into something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is, like, you need time, you need to meditate, clear your head a bit, ground, do protection circle, candles, crystals, whatever everybody does for it. And then you need to write down the sentence of the whole sentence of your, whatever you require. So let's say if you say, oh, I want a job that good pays, is not as good as if you say, I want a job with an annual income of 50,000, right? Just for an example. Be more specific. Then you write it down, the sentence, and then you take out all the vowels. You scratch out all the vowels, and then you take out all the double consonant, everything that's double, because the less the better. It takes too much energy away, double consonants. Say, for me, I'm getting caught on that word
I understand exactly. Yeah.
So it takes away too much energy of your wish. And then what's left, you write it down. It's, of course, not a word anymore. And it's not supposed to be a word, because you're not supposed to think about it anymore, because you send away energy with the intention, and you send it away, and that's where you leave it. You don't do anything with the energy anymore. And then it's up to you. You can move the letters around the way your instinct tells you, and then you start connecting the letters.
Yeah, I had one actually made, and so it kind of looks something like this. If I can get it, there it is.
Oh yeah, I can see the Eye of Horus. Nice.
So each one of these comes from a different path of, invoking, it's actually a spell of bringing forth wisdom. So anyway, I digress.
Yes, so all little sigils.
Yeah, and because, I'm made of many different parts. I am a part of the whole, but, the whole is made of many different parts. So anyway, so but I want to look at this because I've actually designed my own sigil. I just need to find a jewelry maker that could actually get it done. So I think it's important. I think that, yeah, I mean,
you
maybe
can make your own protection sigil with your intention, whatever you want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want a protection, of course, carry it with you. But if you want to manifest a wish, me personal, once I draw the letters together and it comes out as a little picture, then I burn it, because I send it away and I don't see it anymore. I don't get reminded anymore, because I give it away to the universe to deal with it.
I tell you, I love this because it is so common sense. And to think that society, again, we get right back for where we started almost an hour ago, that we've come into this. This is wonderful knowledge, Anja. And I admire such souls of yourself who are, and this is what I'm going to say, practicing the sacred arts. And we all practice. If you stop practicing, guess what? You're going to get stale.
Yeah, and I'm still learning. I get my surprises like daily, right? Like, whoa, what was that, right? Like,
Well, of course.
where did this come from? Whoa.
And I'll tell you what I keep seeing in this channel, more and more adepts like ourselves, all of us who are students, and we're following this path. It's amazing.
And we all have it in us. We just forgot.
Well,
oh, they made us forget. Let me put it this way.
I'd love to get a panel of other witches who are practicing. And if there are warlocks out there that want to be a part of this as well, we'll come in here. And I think we ought to talk about this and bring this out into the open, because again, what I've learned from you is this: you are a true humanitarian. Your intentions are to heal, to make the betterment of our fellow man, woman, doesn't matter.
Yeah, of course.
That, to me, how can that be wrong? How can that not be interpreted by the divine as exactly what we're supposed to be doing?
To do good, yes. But it got demonized by the institution because they wanted the knowledge and power for themselves. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Because after they wiped out everyone, they brought in their own doctors, they brought in, or healers back then, they brought in their own astrologists. So get rid of them and bring in ours.
What?
And we take it from here.
I'm a healer. I can lay my hands on people, and I've known this for decades and decades. And again, in the Christian circle, that's heralded as a gift of one of the 9 gifts of the Spirit, the gift of healing. And again, the correlation, Anja, is just like this.
Yeah,
You're going, why, you dirty rat! You stole my you stole my stuff, man.
You dirty rat.
I mean, that's all I got to say. You just want to go and kick some ass. Like, why, you bastard, you. So that's what they've done. And then they so villainize the people that are practicing nothing more than knowledge. Ay, 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 ay.
They still kill people for witchcraft today.
Oh, yeah, today, listen.
And even in Saudi Arabia, they have a law against witchcraft.
Oh, let me tell you, they probably got a few in the South as well, in the United States. Seriously. But you know what? We've got to get out of this, what I would call, it's nothing more than intellectual racism. Because when you become so bigoted that you sanction a group of people because of a thought, I mean, that's racism, any way you look at it. And I think that that's wrong. I'm diametrically opposed to racism. That's my commentary, and I stand by it.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we're going to change that. Anja, because I think that this is something that, again, it's all hand in hand as we go through this life. And, for myself, when I started studying Kabbalism is nothing more than the magical arts of the hidden religion of Judaism.
Look at the grimoire. I mean, I have that here. And 2 years ago, I met a guy. I wasn't dating him. I was about to, but and I had no problem. He was talking about Jesus and only Jesus and this, and I never said anything. And then he was like, what, can you take that off? I'm like, no. And he was like, well, I'm like, that's witchcraft. I'm like, yeah, that's good because I am one, right? So I'm cool. Thanks. I'm thanks for.
Let me guess, you're not on the Christmas list.
No, we're not seeing each other anymore.
Oh my Lord, I
And I
know.
tried to explain him. I'm like, do you want to tell me the third? Well, do you do rituals? I'm like, yeah. Well, that's dark. I'm like, oh God. So I'm like,
How
I
do
tell
you
you
know?
something. So I told him the grimoire, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you like that? They are invoking angels, and angels are usually good, right? I'm like, how you like that? Oh, da, da. I'm like, yeah, da, da. I'm like, yeah, exactly. I'm like, thanks. I'm like, just forget it. So he was like, you and my spirit can never melt. I'm like, yeah, I have no urge to melt in any way. I'm like, just leave. Like,
You scared the crap out of him. He probably went, oh,
I
oh,
don't walk around
mercy.
in black or in the clock or anything.
Oh, I'll tell you, and you have to laugh because it's everywhere around, and it's like, it's the emperor who has no clothes on. Everyone is saying, it's a hell of an outfit you got there, George.
Yeah, hell of an outfit.
George is thinking, well, it's a little breezy. Yeah. Oh, well, Anja, the hour. What's that?
I say, even with a broom is used to cleanse energy. It's not to fly.
It's but no, they don't see it as the metaphor, the axiom. It's like, no, we're going to do this literally. Yeah, good luck with
Yeah,
that.
I wish.
Oh, my dear, this has been a fascinating hour for me. I just thank you for it. It's just.
Oh, thank you, Wayne. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that conversation. Thank you.
Well, the laughter was just that was part of the price of admission. But this tells me that where laughter is, how can you get anything bad out of that?
I don't know.
Seriously. So you have a YouTube channel. Please let everyone know what that is. And I will put it, and you send it to me in an email, and I'll put it in the description box as well.
Okay, yeah, we are also working. Well, my friend and me my friend is helping me building on the website. I don't have it ready. It's not going to be for a while, but I will be offering herbs and incense too.
Excellent.
Handmade by whatever people request. So I will not have stock. I will make it as requested.
Well, I'll be one of your first customers. I love the idea. Maybe you can put something together for me and let me know. I think that, listen, only a fool walks away from knowledge that has been offered to him. And what you've offered us tonight is just phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yes. So now, do you have a YouTube channel?
Yeah, and it's just Anja Teich, the same name I have on the panel here.
Okay.
I don't have a witch name.
Well, no, I tell you what, then I think that displays integrity and character, Anja. I don't have a different name for my channel. And it's because this is who I am.
Yeah,
and that's who you are.
That's me, plain me.
I feel like I have met a long lost friend, and it has been and will continue to be a pleasure. I just thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Well, we're going to
enjoyed that.
Well, we're going to get a panel together. I think that others of you who are practicing, drop me a line.
Awesome.
We will put together a nice little round table, and let's start talking about these things, because people are looking for answers, Anja. They're seeking, and the thing about it is they're trying to get into a room that they're already in. The answers lie within, but we're going to help them with the information of understanding how to begin to what we would call the law of correspondence with our environment.
Yeah, like building a network, get connected again, right? Everybody.
I'll tell you, I just want to thank you. This has been just charged up. This is cool.
Thank you.
Uh, well, folks, this has been Far Out. There is no doubt about it. I love it. What a beautiful soul. Thank you, Sue G. Just wow. Just thank you, Anja. You have just
Well,
been,
thank you.
you are a delight, and we are going to get to have you back on.
And
And
I'm sorry I didn't read the chat at all, so I wasn't ignoring anyone.
no, I think that that I have seen it as it's going by. I believe people have really loved this. I think that the energy was flowing here. Listen,
Awesome.
you know, when you've got this kind of laughter, and they were laughing as well. So, well, stay on with me as we get out of here, folks. Thank you all. Be good to
Thank you.
yourselves.
Bye-bye.
And for Anja and for myself, have a great evening. We will see you again real soon, folks. In fact, someone just put your YouTube channel up there. So good.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Mercury Messenger 7. Far Out. Appreciate it. Thank you. Warrior Princess, thank you. All of the moderators, thank you. And all you good people, I'll tell you, we're growing, we're getting stronger, and hey, makes the journey a lot more. How can I use the word funner?
Funnera.
Yeah, funner. There we go. All right, folks, you be good. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.